Grade 3, good morning. We are doing lesson 20, drop by drop. I haven't read it yet, but I think it's going to be a lesson about water. I'm on page 132. You can listen to me reading and look at your own textbook. I'm holding this steady so that your eyes don't get all shaky. Madhu lives in Baju, a small village in Rajasthan. It is hardly a village. This means it's so small it's not even a village. Also, the only thing around it, what do you see all around? All you see is sand all around. One can see some houses when the sand does not blow. The sand is blowing in the wind all the time. Sounds like a very dry, dusty place. Everyone in Madhu's family is upset. They are not happy. Every summer there is water scarcity in his place. Scarcity means when there is very little of something. A scarcity of rain will cause a scarcity of drinking water. This year, I'm reading on, it is worse. It did not rain at all. His mother, Madhu's a boy, and sister have to walk a longer distance to fetch water, as the nearby pond has also dried. Fetch means to bring. Each day they spend hours just to get 4 pots of water. While walking on the hot sand, their feet burn, and blisters just cannot be avoided. Blisters are the little skin bubbles when you get burnt. Your skin rises up and fills with a little bit of water. This is called a blister. Avoided, to avoid means to prevent, to be able to stop. But you cannot avoid blisters because they have to walk so far and they are barefoot without any shoes. So the sand burns their feet. Let's read on. When the train carrying water comes, they are very happy. So there's a train that brings water to these places. Madhu's father goes to fetch water in his camel cart. He has a cart that is pulled by a camel and he goes to bring the water from the train. But this does not happen often. This happens rarely, very little. People keep waiting days and days for water. We are all lucky that I think none of us anymore have to go anywhere to fetch water. If you talk to your parents or your grandparents, they remember a time when there was no municipal water or tap water as we call it, and they had to take these pots and go to at least a nearby spring or river to fetch water. Some people collect rainwater. That's a good idea. This is done by a special method, by making tanks. Do you know what tanka they call it? What a tanka is and how it's built? You know what a water tank is, if you remember, and I'm sure you have them in your homes, but at school we have a rainwater tank. From the roof of this building, the building in which the 3rd to 8th grades are, all the water flows into pipes and goes into a tank. Where is the tank? It's right next to where your washrooms are. It's part of the taliko, actually, the part right in front of my office. That's a tank below that. To build a tank, a pit is dug. A hole is dug. To dig means to take out mud and make a hole in the courtyard, and it is made pakka. Remember, pakka means cemented, and that's what we did here as well. We put cement inside the tank so that the water doesn't seep out through soil. The tank is kept covered with a lid. We have a whole courtyard on it. The roof of the house is made sloping so the water collected here flows through a pipe into the tank. A sieve is attached to the mouth of the pipe so that no dirt goes into the tanka. They're saying into the tank. A sieve. Let's take a look at that word. Look how it's written, but I'm saying sieve. We use a sieve when we make tea to keep the tea leaves out of our cup or glass. And your school rainwater tank has a simple sieve. We don't really have a sieve. A sieve would look like this. It would be thin wires like a mesh. Okay? We don't have this. What we do have in your school tank is that when the pipe flows in, and you can come and see this the next time you're in school, there's one slab that can be lifted up in front of my office. We have the pipe flowing here, and then we have the pipe going into the tank a little higher, so the rainwater comes here, but this pipe is higher, and what happens, all the mud and the dirt from the roof comes down here and settles down, and then when it fills up, only the cleaner water. It's a very simple way of filtering it. We do not have any kind of sieve here. Probably we should. Remind me when you come back to school to put a sieve in there. Shall we read on? This water is used for drinking after it is cleaned. At our school, we do not use this water for drinking at all unless we put it through a filter, and that's what they do as well. Sometimes, I'm still reading on page 133, Madho is allowed to take water from one of the tankas of the village. Sometimes he gets permission and he can take some of the shared water. Now comes the first set of questions. We're going to write these down in our notebooks. Let's think, what are the difficulties people face due to scarcity of water? What are the troubles we have to face when there is too little water? From where do the people in Madho's village fetch water for drinking? Look at the question again. From where do the people in Madho's village fetch water for drinking? This is a complicated question. Let's think of the answer. We know that they get water from drinking from nearby ponds or from a train that brings water. Sometimes they get water from one of the tanks of the village. And that is already the answer. Why am I not using the question? It's unnecessarily complicated. Look at it. From where do the people in Madho's village fetch water for drinking? I could start with the people in Madho's village fetch water for drinking from nearby ponds, comma, the train that brings water, or the village tanks. That's fine too. Did you see where I started? The people in Madho's village bring water for drinking from nearby ponds, comma, the train that brings water, or the village tanks. Who fetches water in Madho's house? We just remove the who and put the answer. Madho's mother and sister fetch, plural. Madho's mother and sister fetch water in Madho's house. Water collected in the tanka is mostly used for drinking. Why? Well, if there's not enough water, the first thing we're going to use it for is to drink. We're certainly not going to wash our cars or water our kushyanis with it, right? If we don't have enough. So, water is very scarce in Madho's village, full stop. So the water collected in the tanka is mostly used for drinking. Remember, it is rainwater. We can also add, it is also quite clean and is suitable for drinking. Rainwater is quite clean. Look up in the sky, and if you open your mouth and the rain falls in, as long as your atmosphere is not full of smoke or polluted, the rainwater is quite clean. It hasn't touched anything else. So we should use it for drinking. Do you want me to repeat that? Water collected in the tanka is mostly used for drinking. Why? I said water is scarce the first time, I think. You can also say there is very little water in Madho's village, so the water collected in the tanka is mostly used for drinking. It is also clean because it is rainwater. Is rainwater collected in your house as well? Yes, rainwater is collected in my house. We have a sloping roof and pipes take the water down into a tank. Can there be any other method of collecting water? Can you think of this one? Can you talk to your parents also? My mind is blank. Parent homework. Can there be other ways? I'm sure they are. And you'll be surprised how much not just your parents, but your grandparents know about saving water. Now we move on to the next page. 134. Just like Madho, Sonal also faces water scarcity in her house. Sonal is a girl and she also faces the shortage of water. Water scarcity. Too little water. Not enough water. She lives in Bhavnagar. Water is supplied only for half an hour in a day. All the people of the area depend on only a single tap. Can you imagine what happens? I can, because I remember in my village, even when we're filling from the spring, we get so upset if somebody cuts in line and says, "Ye kiska drum hai? Who put this here? It was my turn. How much water are you going to take? I need more water." So I can imagine that there are some fights and people have to wait a long time. Sonal is determined to take water from the tap. What does it mean to be determined? It means when you set your mind and say, "I will do this." Anisha is determined to speak English correctly. Nina ma'am is determined to make us work a lot. When you say, "I will do this." So Sonal wants to get water from the tap. Whenever she gets a chance, she fills her bucket, even if it is just a drop by drop. That's a terrible thing, if you have to wait for water drop by drop. We're very lucky here. It won't last forever, but right now, we're very comfortable compared to these children. Let's find out how many drops will fill a bowl or a mug. I'm not going to find this out. This exercise is for you, and this is one that you do not have to do it in your notebooks. You can do it for fun. This is the kind of thing small children like you might enjoy doing. If you ask me to use drops to fill a spoon, I'm too much of an adult. You might enjoy taking a spoon and saying drip, drip, how many drops. Please go ahead and do it and share your results.